Okay, hi everyone. We are back with another edition of Ladies of Golf, where we introduce you to women thriving in the golf industry. Today, I am honored to introduce you to Ashley Mayo, Golf's Editorial Director and Head of Brand for 8AMGolf.
Yeah,
Being here.
thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming.
I know, it has, for sure.
Yeah.
So you have had an illustrious career in golf, obviously beginning with your time at Golf Digest. But before we dive into your career, I would love to just hear briefly about like your childhood and upbringing and what was that like?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Manhattan, which, isn't the golfiest of places,
Yeah.
being that there is not a single golf course on the island of Manhattan. I have a twin sister, and we were both born and raised there along with my older brother. But we moved to Miami in right before 10th grade. And that's where we really learned how to play golf. So we were 14, 15. And in terms of everyday golfers, that's a young age to start learning how to play. But in terms of collegiate golfers, that's pretty late to start playing. But in Miami, you have golf around the year, or year round.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm hearing my 11-month-old in the other room. I don't know if you can pick up that sound.
No, it's fine.
Okay. I can hear it, so I won't be distracted. So in Miami, since you can play year round, we were just range rats 365 days a year. And that's all we could do. So we got good enough to get accepted into the University of Virginia and play on the first women's golf team at UVA. Long story short, we didn't start learning how to play until a little later in life, 14, 15 years old. But we were so addicted so quickly that in 3 years, we got decent enough to hold our own there in college.
Yeah. How was it to join, a college team that was just starting versus maybe going to one that was like more established? Were you nervous? How did you feel about it at the time?
No, it was so exciting. So my dad had gone to UVA, and that was a reach school for us.
Okay. Yeah.
We actually applied to 2 colleges. One was UVA, the other one was a total safety school. So that's it. And so we were excited we had known so much about the traditions at UVA and how it was so steeped in history that we were excited to be able to just start something new there and be part of that making history at UVA. The differences were, when we went to meet the coach, she didn't have a team to introduce us to. We were literally part of the first. So we met all of our teammates on day one.
Yeah.
And that was so fun to, be surrounded by a bunch of rookies, and we were all in it together. And, we didn't make nationals the first year, but the next 3 years we did. And UVA now, the women's golf team there is
great.
They're great. Yeah. So we weren't, they were okay. But to know that, now that school is kind of known for having the best women's golf programs is really, really cool. And to this day, I keep in touch with those initial teammates that I had. We're like, we'll be family for life. So that was really special.
Nice. So from UVA, did you know that you wanted to move to Manhattan, and that's like why you chose Golf Digest and sought them out, or how did that come to be?
Yeah. So born and raised in Manhattan, I've always loved it. I always knew that I wanted to go back. I didn't realize that I would live there for 14 years after college. But yeah, I knew that that's where I wanted to be. And in my junior year of college, I had applied for a summer internship at Golf Digest. And I knew that I had missed the deadline. Their deadline at Contact Max was like November for a summer internship. I was like, who's thinking
No one knows. Yeah.
in November. So I sent my resume anyway, and they actually called me back. Alan Pittman, still the managing editor to this day, called me and said, we got your resume. We can't do anything about this deadline, but we'll keep your info on file. And I thought that was the whole, it's not you, it's me speech.
Sure. Yeah.
I was very flattered that he called me, and I ended up getting another internship at like a news station in Miami. Quickly ruled out any kind of broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or hard news. No thanks. So that ended up being well worth my while. But sure enough, Golf Digest did call me during my first week of my senior year, thinking that I had graduated the May before. And they said, position opened. Would I be willing to drive up to New York and interview for it? And that was specifically at Golf for Women magazine, which was a Golf Digest product. And so I was like, well, I just started my senior year of college, but if I did the math, and if I took 18 credits that final semester, then I could graduate early. And they were like, okay, well, come up anyway, and we'll see. So I interviewed with Susan Reed, editor-in-chief of Golf for Women, and a few other folks, and they ended up hiring me and waiting 3-4 months for me to finish college. And then, so in January, before I was supposed to graduate in May, I drove up to New York, and that's when I started at Digest. So I was 21 years old.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember for the interview, back then there was, Facebook hadn't yet opened to non-college kids. Twitter was born. And Instagram was like way off. And .com was still very much only used to push subscriptions to a magazine. Okay. So I remember I went to a Barnes & Noble shortly ahead of my interview and bought a bunch of magazines, ripped out my favorite columns, and created my dream magazine in like a binder with clear, page protectors. Yeah. Oh. So that's what I showed Susan Reed when I got there, and I think that's why I got the job, because certainly if someone came and interviewed with me that prepared, I'd be like, okay, you're hired on the spot.
Right. I know you'll be great.
I had no idea at the time how, as I've interviewed people, I realized that putting in effort just isn't the most common thing in the world, but kind of, really sets you apart. So, anyway, I started in January 2007, and it was my dream job right away.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've just seen so much evolve when it comes to the golf media space over like the last, 5 years, 10 years. And a lot of that's pretty obvious, especially with social media. But what is there something in particular that you've been really excited about to see evolve over the last, few years?
Yeah, definitely. Since my time in media, we've gone from, in terms of golf media,
sure.
And I think this applies across, we've gone from being able to tell a story in one way, one time, to one group of people, one audience. And it's always been a big audience in my case. I've been lucky. I started, at Golf for Women, Golf Digest, and it was a large audience, but they were only people who consumed information from a print product. Yeah. And that product went out, people don't realize how far in advance magazines ship. Like right now at Golf Magazine, we're shipping the September issue, the US Open preview issue.
Right. Yeah.
A lot can happen between now and then, and you can't really be reactive, proactive. It's a certain type of storytelling. It's beautiful, but it feels very finite and final. So we had that one way, and now there are just so many ways to tell your story, and to tell many different kinds of stories. We can tell, up to the minute stories. We can, we have limitless amounts of resources and space. So that's been the most exciting thing to me, and widening and broadening the audience.
Yeah.
Now, it's a mistake to think that the people who read your product or consume your information from in a print format are the same people who consume your information from Instagram.
Sure.
And knowing that you can be either frustrated by that, thinking, oh, there's too many things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can realize that your audience has just exponentially grown.
Yeah.
And to learn who is on each of those platforms is really interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been the most fun thing for me, is really understanding who lives where and what kind of information you should tell. From
Oh, yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, yeah, it changes by generation, it changes by just personal interest, and yeah, it's really exciting. I think that obviously, like, your career responsibilities have like grown throughout the years. They've shifted as golf media has evolved, but now you are also head of brands. And what has been that shift been like for you? Being in golf media and really focused and excited about that and audience development, and then, transferring some of those skills into overseeing some brands.
Yeah, I think ultimately, when I'm working with the various brands, so 8AMGolf, Umbrellas, 6 golf companies, and they're all quite different. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is position them in the most powerful way possible in terms of how they interface with consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So, in let's say TrueSpec, in that example,
Which we love.
Yes. So that's a perfect example of a way that we're trying to get TrueSpec, position it in a friendlier, more accessible way.
Mm.
I think a lot of times, if you know about TrueSpec, you know that it's awesome, but it can seem a little, oh, that's for people who have money, like
Sure.
yeah, that's not for me, but I think by doing things like hosting for the ladies events there, we make it seem friendlier and more accessible, and like, no, this is actually a place that you should consider, even if you don't think that you can spend an extra $50-$100 on getting that driver exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Come try us out, and you'll see that maybe it is worth that extra investment. But if it's not, that's fine too. We're still happy to have you.
Yeah.
So with in the case of TrueSpec, we're trying to make club fitting less intimidating and more approachable. And I think we do that through a number of ways. Through excellent customer service. I mean, if you've ever gotten a fitting there, you know that the touch points throughout the process, before, during, and after, are tremendous, and
Mm-hmm.
the fitters really care. And also demystifying what it means to fit for loft and lie and what bounce is. And, we're really trying to educate golfers with all those terms. So that's just TrueSpec.
Right.
Yeah. For golf.com and Golf Magazine, we're trying to use those platforms to really celebrate golf.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we made the smartest decision ever last year at around this time to say, hey, we write a lot about news. And most of our traffic is generated from our news stories. What if it's really hard to distinguish your voice when you're writing about the same thing that everyone else is writing about. What if we decided to keep writing about news, because that's very important, but really double down in terms of writing about the lifestyle and the passion around golf and the sport that we play, and really celebrate that, because most golfers, they're avid, and even if you only spend 2 hours every now and then playing 9 holes, or 4 hours playing 18 holes, your life outside the golf course is consumed by golf, and you're thinking about it, and you're looking up, accessories, and it's
Right.
just it kind of consumes you. So identifying that and really doubling down in instruction, equipment, courses, style, paid off big time when the PGA Tour took that 13-week hiatus.
Sure.
Golf.com was actually the only media site in golf to show year-over-year increases in traffic, despite not being able to report on what's happening
Yeah.
in the PGA Tour. So yeah, for the second consecutive month, we're the #1 site in golf, and
Wow.
it's so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just another example of, okay, how can we position this brand to make it consumable, friendly, approachable, and a really important part of a golfer's life. So that's been the super fun challenge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's just like, and there's so many brands, and each of them has different audiences. So I'm sure it's fun, and for you, I'm sure it's fun because you kind of get to interact with all different types of golfers, whether they're
Oh
super
yeah.
avid or they're a fringe golfer, kind of just getting into it. But it's kind of a fun opportunity to see the whole landscape.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So fun. So over the last few weeks, we have tried to address women of different backgrounds and races who have maybe faced obstacles in their careers. Was there like a turning point or a moment for you ever where you just had to take a step back and think about what you wanted from your professional life?
Oh yeah. Well, I am Cuban. People don't realize that.
Yes.
I'm undercover.
Yeah.
I don't think that I always wonder what my career, how it would have been impacted if I had my mom's maiden name, Garcia.
Okay.
Um, just because then people would really know that.
Yeah.
And Spanish was my first language. I'm fluent. I love identifying with my Cuban side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more than anything, being a woman in the golf industry has impacted my career far more than being Hispanic.
Okay.
Very few people know that I'm Hispanic. And I have always counted it as a huge blessing. I have, knock on wood, never felt, uh, like I've had to overcome anything because I'm female.
Mm-hmm.
I understand women who have felt that way, and it's got to be awful. But luckily, I have worked in environments that have really appreciated that aspect that I bring to the table, and so that's been a huge blessing. But I would say that the moment in time when I really had to sit down and literally write out a list of pros and cons and should I do this, should I not, to think about my career and the future of my career was when I did get this offer to work at 8AMGolf from Howard Milstein and Hoyt McGarity. And I had I was so happy at Golf Digest. That was my dream job, and I thought that I would be there, forever and ever. And so accepting this job that I have now was wildly difficult. And one of the most, challenging decisions, the most challenging decision I've ever made in my professional career. But I don't regret it for a single day. It was the best decision I made, even though Golf Digest was my dream job and could not have been better. I think, transitioning over and really growing at 8AMGolf is the best thing that I've done. So it's been really fun to learn about all the different industries, whether it's gaming and apps through GolfLogix or club fitting through TrueSpec and staying in media in the form of Golf Magazine and Golf.com. It's just so much fun.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, everything always works out in the end, but there are like tougher decisions that you have to make. So.
Yeah. It's the best.
Oh. Well, you are also a new mom. We did hear Jones in the background.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's just, I would think, I'm not sure, I'm not a mom, but I think for some people it has brought on a new perspective to work-life balance or just, appreciating both your professional and personal life. So what would you say is kind of like your philosophy to happiness in growing your family and your career?
Yeah. I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
I think that the last 4 months, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but we're sitting on August 1st. Who let that happen?
I know, it's so bizarre.
So it's been, about 4 months, 4+ months that we've been working in quarantine
Yeah.
and working remotely. And just 2 days ago was the first day that I was able to hire help to help with Jones since March 13th. And it's been the ultimate juggling act.
Yeah.
By far the most challenging thing I've ever done, because my husband and I both have very full-time jobs, and now we have to take care of this little man that we love so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a real challenge, and one that I'm still trying to figure out how to master. I feel like a lot of times, even if you follow someone who you think has it all, and
Yep.
really, it's not the case.
Right.
And I want to be the first to say that I feel like I'm doing a very mediocre job at everything right now. So if you feel the same way, you're not alone.
Right. Right.
And I've just come to accept that that's just the reality right now. But with that help that I was able to get 2 days ago and yesterday, and going forward, I'm going to get it 3 days a week. I'm really excited about that because I love what I do, and I'm really excited to be able to put that hat on exclusively for even chunks at a time. But I would say that something that's really helped me is just letting go of the 9 to 5 ideology, and just working consistently throughout the day, but then being okay with taking an hour, 90 minutes off, even if it is in that 9 to 5 realm. I don't know who created that structure of
Right.
must work from 9 to 5. And then at 5 o'clock, when
You can go.
you can go.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's around the clock for me, but I also like forgive myself for tending to Jones, or tending to certain things that are not necessarily work during work hours, because I know that I'm on before and after those work hours. So it's really just coming up with a structure that works best for you, and what works best for you would look very different for me, and that's okay.
Right. And being confident in that, like, you're doing it the right way for you. Because I think, for someone like me, like I don't have children. I would love to have a family someday, but there is like a fear. You're like, gosh, you hear about how stressful it is, and can you make it all work, and can you have it all? And so I think yes, I think you're showing, you can have it all in the way that you want to have it all. And like, that's important to you.
Yeah. And you have to just forgive yourself.
I like that. You have to forgive yourself. Yeah. We're so hard on ourselves.
We are. Yeah. And I feel like we're, I guess, the second generation now of women who are truly have jobs, and we have our, not jobs, careers that we feel passionate about. And we're not necessarily willing to let them go to raise a child, our children, even though I love being a mom, and I love it way more than I even thought I would, and it's the best thing. But I also love my career. So I feel like we're part of the first or second generation of women, who are really embracing both things. And it's been fun. It's been a fun challenge, but we're navigating these new waters, and society is still very much built around the man works and the woman stays home. And that's changing, but it's pretty slow changing. So it's been interesting, but I certainly wouldn't have it any other way.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I will let you go, but before I do, the last question I always ask is, what advice do you have for women who would like to pick up the game of golf?
So I'm seeing a lot more women pick up golf, or have interest in golf, post-COVID, and realizing that golf is one of the healthiest things that you can do. And I think that's why golf.com is really excelling, because we're doubling down in instruction and service and all that. and more people are drawn to the sport than ever, it seems.
Yeah.
And so my advice for women specifically is just have fun, smile out there. I think a lot of people, when they hear playing golf, they think, oh, I have to be super patient because it's really hard. And, I can't embarrass myself out there in front of all the guys on the golf course. I have to wear certain things and act a certain way. And part of that, shreds of that have some truth in it. But by and large, if you just focus on the fact that this is a sport, it's a game, it's a hobby, whatever you want it to be, and it's meant for you to have fun. It's just an outdoor activity.
Yeah.
And, it brings you to beautiful corners. It can bring you to beautiful corners of the earth, and it can help you spend some really quality time with people that you love. Then the whole mindset changes. And that would help you realize that, oh, I'm supposed to relax out here. Like, this is not a job, So I think that's the thing that I see a lot of women do, is they tense up on the golf course, or they think that golf is unapproachable, but it can be true, but it shouldn't be.
Right.
It doesn't have to be. Definitely doesn't have to be true.
Definitely.
So that's my advice, is just smile, have fun, embrace the challenges. And more practically, I would say that there are two things to remember when you're playing with new people. One is they will not remember what you're shooting. They won't even keep track of that. No, they're keeping track of their own score and much more invested in that than anything you're shooting. What they will remember is your attitude and the way that you approach the sport. And do you get angry after shots, or do you laugh them off? That's what they'll walk away remembering, is, were you a pleasure to be around, or kind of did you weight everything down? And then the second one is just pick up the ball.
Right.
You shouldn't be grinding over a putt for 12 on any hole. Pick it up, keep it moving. If you're a beginner, it's okay to not finish holes.
Totally.
And so I think that the two things that people will remember about you is, were you fast? Did you keep up? And were you a pleasure to be around? And so after that, just do you, and welcome to the sport. Yeah.
Right.
And just know that it's not as intimidating as it can be, or it can seem. And golfers are just the best people. So it'll be fun.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. And hopefully we get to see each other soon and tee it up.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your summer. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.